From the top. Hey, look, if you've ever won something, won a prize, maybe first in swimming or whatever, and then you got the prize and the trophy, only to have the event organizer call you and tell you actually didn't win it, you come second, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give us a little thumbs up there, because my guest today, as you know, he's had that actually happen, and that's probably as good a place to start. I'd like to introduce my buddy Trevor Dawson from the Aussie Pit Boys. So welcome today, Trev. I don't have to bring that up because it's already come up a couple of times and I couldn't think of anything else hilarious to actually intro this. So I guess that's as good a place to start. So Brendan disclosed to us the reserve, what do you call it? The reverse Grand Champion. And Adam clarified how it happened. So maybe we'll close the circle and hear your account of it. If you've got anything to add.
Yeah, I knew in the back of my mind, I knew something was up. Meat Fingers had Ryan going over to join him, and Ryan normally nails ribs. And
he's a hell of a cook, bro.
Yeah, and we couldn't understand. Like, we looked at all the scores, and we couldn't understand why his score was so low, and he didn't DQ. And and they finished so far down in ribs, and he just couldn't understand it. And it's one of those things when you cook a lot, you go back to the judges. You either know or you don't if you had a good cook or not. And he's like, "Oh, I nailed ribs. I don't know what happened." And we looked at the scores, and if you DQ'd on something, well then if one judge picks it up, well then the rest do. And it didn't make. We tried every which way afterwards to try and work it all out, and it just didn't work out. And so hours went on, and we shook hands and left, and that was it. And everyone was packed up, and we thought, okay, let's go out for dinner. And we're on our way to dinner with Brendan and Clint. And, Adam Roberts rings me and he says,
"Oh, I never got invited, but whatever."
And I got a phone call from Adam Roberts, and my face sort of dropped a bit. But I said to him, they just said they it dropped one of the judges' scores. And, I just said to him, I don't want to win something that I didn't really win. And we were stoked with our GC. So, we still went out and celebrated, and it was just one of those things. And then we just sort of made a joke out of it and said, okay, well, what other team is GC'd and RGC'd in the same comp and the same
Yeah. Well, I think
we're going to make light of it, but we didn't win. And that was the thing. It's one of those things where you get a bit disappointed because, you've gone from a GC to an RGC, but really it's, do you want a participation award just because you turned up? And, it was something that we didn't win. It wasn't something that was ever taken away from us. It was just one of those little glitches in the scoring, which they fixed after that, and it's never going to happen again. And, that's what it was.
Yeah, it's cool. I seem to remember at the time, I think even if you guys had have legitimately got a walk for reserve, you would have been wrapped with that anyway. Because,
definitely.
I seem to recall you at the back of the prize giving, nattering away to each other because
we couldn't hear.
Yeah.
We couldn't hear. I think we only had one call up. In that comp, but we're pretty consistent. And the guys were turning around saying, "Oh, that's you." And Brandon's like looking at me and Shane's there like, "Is that us?" Like, okay, yeah, that's us. Let's go. We're like, because of what we went through at the beginning of the Jack Daniels series over there is like unbelievable. I just felt that I got stitched up every time I went there. I didn't really, but it just felt like that. I was like, I fly over there on Friday, takes all day to get there. You bump in on Friday afternoon. I'd get there about 5 o'clock. I have a few drinks with all the guys, compete on Saturday, Sunday, and I'm back at the airport at 4 a.m. Monday morning to fly back to Sydney. And it was like, wow, I've been stitched up again. It was like, every time I went there, it was, I think the first QMU comp that I did was, I got stitched up with some Carnuka, which, we just mulch that and put it in gardens over here. No one smokes with it. And I got smoked out. I remember Adam and Jay were there, and they walked in with a camera, and they couldn't see me sitting in the back of the gazebo, and they're just like, wow, what's going on? And it was pouring outside, and there was just smoke everywhere. My eyes were stinging, I had no sleep, and oh God, I couldn't understand what was going on. And then so then I thought it was all taste, and so I kept coming backwards and forwards. I'd come back over here and compete, and then go back again. And the next comp, I changed all the flavour profiles, and it's because we thought it was that, and it wasn't that. It was, it was just that the wood was the first time. And then we go to Napier, which was the third comp, and it's the only comp I've ever come last in my whole life. And this was all meat will be supplied. Don't worry about bringing anything this time. We'll get all the meat supplied. So I turn up and I've got 2 racks of ribs that are about this big. And I'm like, wow, okay. And you can see me cutting them in the photo that I've gotten. They're literally like 7 centimetres wide, and I'm trying to cut them. And I come dead last, and it's the only time I've ever come last in the comp, and it killed me after that. And then, we sort of, Brendan was like, what's going on? Because he competed by himself, and he come second last, I think. And we're like, wow, I've got no idea what's going on. And he's like, right, I'm over this. I don't know what's going to happen, but something drastic's going to happen. And I think he touched on it when you interviewed him, that he rang me and he said, I've just put an order into the States for a whole heap of rubs and injections and sauces. And he said, Wendy's going to kill me because the invoice come back and it's just over $1,000. I said, so I don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, he played with a lot. And then I grabbed sort of identical to what he had, and we played around a bit. And but yeah, like really it was Brendan who come up with, I say the only secret we've got is the injection that we use. And we use Butcher's Barbecue injection mixed with our secret injection.
Yeah, so I think obviously I'm familiar with your story, but a lot of people out there listening probably aren't. So Trev, just to sort of recap what you've just conveyed, but just to give the guy who's listening for the first time, maybe this is his first experience as Aussie Pit Boys. I believe it was 2017 that you came over to Meatstock Auckland with your teammate at the time, which was
Keith Sutherland.
Yeah, so there was Keith and you.
So
was it just the 2 of you, or?
Yeah, it was just the 2 of us. So it started as UFO.
That's
so
right.
I was importing UFO products from New Zealand.
Which is, for those who aren't familiar, was Wayne Dill's business.
So I got introduced to Wayne. Saw his cold smoker over there through my wife's cousin, and said, "Wow, these look good." It was on a wine barrel. He said, "Oh, look, my mate owns a company. I'll take you up and grab one." So I grabbed one and bought one back. Then a few of my friends said, "Can you get some?" So I ordered a box of 6, and then Wayne said to me, I'm looking for an agent. Are you interested? So I got involved with Wayne and UFO and started to sell the products over here in Australia.
Now, were you already cooking low and slow at that point? Or were you just cold smoking?
I think from what everyone's touched on, a little bit, but more, and if you going to all the guys that you've interviewed so far, on the gasser with the little cast iron box that you put the wood chips in and sit that over and try and get your smoke that way. And then, gutted an old gasser as well and put some charcoal in it before I sort of ventured into that. But I used to, like, probably for 30 years, I've always cooked a lot of barbecue growing up. And all my friends called me Huey, or like Ian Hewitson or Jeff Jans. Those were the guys that are around in the 80s and 90s that used to do a lot of barbecue cooking on TV. And I'd always take my barbecue that one step further and cook something on the barbecue on the gasser that most people didn't cook or something. So that's got that.
Yeah, because I think we do have an outdoor cooking lifestyle in Australia and New Zealand. It's definitely ingrained in the culture. And I think you're a bit of a natural foodie. I mean, I know you don't really think of yourself as one, but you really are. I mean, you're one of the. I know you try and give credit to everyone else, but you're one of the most creative cooks I've freaking come across, for sure.
Yeah, I've always liked cooking from at school from a young age.
Actually, Trev, can I just interrupt? Sorry to interrupt. Can you just bend your mic up towards your mouth a little bit? You're cutting in and out a little bit. There. Yeah, that's probably better.
Bit better. Okay.
More better.
Yeah. So from an early age, really. Really got into cooking. My wife now is a chef, so I learned a lot from her, just watching and different things. I was happy when SCA come along, because barbecue can tend to get a little bit boring, and SCA sort of lets you.
Should throw this guy out of here.
Well, it can if you're doing the same thing. You're doing this, like I did 50 comps in 3 years, and it's, it can get boring after a while. So SCA lets you get that little bit more creative, and keeps you excited about the low and slow side of it as well. So, for me, that come along at the right time.
Awesome combination.
Yeah, it is, and it allows you to get creative. And some of the things that you see teams handing in are, that it's some of the stuff that you see in 5-star restaurants that these guys are handing in and creating it.
Look, I mean, again, you're giving credit to everyone else. I've seen some of the stuff you've done, which has just absolutely blown me away. I've just been like, how does he come up with this crap? And I know you and your wife must scheme a little bit about it, but man, just the creativity is just mind blowing. But
yeah,
I
find that a lot of things just come to me.
When do you think the competition for low and slow was with the ABA?
Yeah, so I was selling the UFO products and wondering how to get into barbecue, the fishing and hunting side, which is pretty small in Australia compared to New Zealand.
Meaning you were trying to grow that business, right? So you're
just trying to grow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw, and I was getting into barbecue a little bit by myself and more into smoking, and saw the ABA page and the Port Macquarie competition, and thought, okay, I'll get on board with this and I'll see what I can do. So I got in contact with Jay Beaumont and spoke to him and wanted to have a site there to display the UFO products and whatnot. And he said, look, this is what we offer for guys coming in. But why don't you compete? You get a bigger site and it's a lot less, and you can display your items from the site, but as long as you compete. So I said, okay, it sounds pretty good. So I got there and set everything up. Everyone had a 10 by 10 site, so it was nice and comfortable, and had all my UFO things set up. And I think that night I rang my wife. That was the first night in, and she said, how is it? I said, oh, mate, it's a little bit boring. It was about 8 o'clock and dark and in a campground. I thought, I might head to bed. Next thing, the mongrels come and grab me. And I think I fell in the tent. It was about 2:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And that was it's sort of happy loss for the weekend. But that, I'm not the first person that they've done it to.
They're a very hospitable group, those guys. They're really awesome.
Oh yeah. But got into it the next day. No idea what I was doing, but plenty of guys around that, and I'd watched a lot of barbecue pitmasters and things like that on Foxtel. And so we get to the first hand in, and a cupcake chicken. They looked awesome, but they just never ready, never looked like they were going to be there in time. So I missed the hand in. Lamb was next. Come up, I thought, oh, look at this. This lamb's awesome. Probably the best lamb I've ever cooked. But it was, looking at it now, it wasn't that much. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Walked up. Adam Roberts is there, and he's just shaking his head. I missed the hand in by 20 seconds, so I ate the box on the way back.
Damn it.
So I missed the first 2 hand-ins, and I've got ribs on, I've got everything.
No,
I've got absolutely
but at
no
that
idea.
stage, were you, because you're a pretty organised competitor, so, was that just a learning curve? Like, you didn't think the rules would be so stringent, or you just...
Well, I wasn't there for the
weren't
barbecue
organised,
comp.
or... Yeah.
I wasn't there for the barbecue comp. I was there to promote the products that I was there for, but I think halfway through that hand-in, the hand-in windows of the first day, me being there to sell UFO products went out the door, and I was hooked on barbecue.
Yeah, right.
and that's what started it. Al, who was in Aussie Pit Boys for a long time, he was there at that first comp as well, because he lived in Port Macquarie, and so it was really myself and my wife Charlene and Alan and Ange, his wife. We just had an awesome weekend that weekend, and ate everything that we're supposed to hand in, and met a lot of people. And from then it was like, wow, okay, I'm not even fussed. I used to play golf 5-6 days a week for about 3 years straight, and then I thought, right, barbecue's my hobby now. So I got into that and put a call out to a few guys to who's interested up around the Hunter Valley Way or up around Newcastle, to get a team together, and that's how Keith and I sort of hooked up.
So when you did Meatstock 2017, like you and Keith teed up coming over, whatever, had you done quite a few comps before then? Had you done a few with Keith, or was this?
No, I think think it was our third comp.
Right. So it must have felt pretty good. Because I believe you guys RGC'd it, and it must have felt pretty good to pull off a big one.
Yeah, Country Boys GC, and we RGC'd, but it was, and people say it's still probably the best Auckland meat stock. I think it was. When you see guys, the guys opposite cooking a whole hog, and I'm like, okay, well, where's your pork in? And they're pointing, they go, okay, well, there's our shoulder, there's our ribs, and they've got like a whole beast in front of you on a spit, and we're like,
it was the best meat stock.
I think it was the best meat stock. I think it was, because and everyone, a few other guys we've interviewed have said the same thing, that we're so primitive and
cooking in like corrugated iron.
Yeah, and that's those guys were just around. They were around the corner from us, and we were sort of, you'd laugh to yourself a little bit, but you were like, wow, this is grassroots type of thing. It was awesome, and it's boring now. I think you touched on it before, when you go around, everyone's sort of they're in bed early. They're all cooking on the same thing. They're all doing the same thing, and it's one of those things where I remember that meat stock more than any others, because it was, there hasn't been.
There was guys burning. There was quite a number of people that had spits going. And I wonder. It's probably something. Maybe if you've got any ideas, audience, jump in the comments and give us a jam and just tell us. Do you think meat stock's visual enough? I know. Me and Jay have talked for hours on end about how to bring more visual forms of cooking to meat stock, but the competition side's really an anti visual cooking. So it's like, oh wow, I got to go to meat stock and see 50 teams looking at steel boxes. So it's one of the things that we did this year in Auckland, and that was completely different from any other meat stock, was we had a whole ton of people cooking on what I call wacky apparatuses. We had whole hog pit. We had this digger with these hanging tomahawks, and we had a bird cage with pork hanging in it, and it was just really designed to bring more visual stimulation to meat stock, and to try and bring back a little bit of what I feel I lost, and what I feel we've lost, in terms of what you described there at the original meat stock. Just people barbecuing, just forget about all the other stuff. Just people barbecuing.
Saturday's normally a lull day where guys are sitting around and catching up and whatnot. But now with SCA, and I think, was it 7 hand-ins or something, 6 ancillaries and a steak on a Saturday? We got there at 7 or 8 in the morning and didn't leave until 9:30 that night, and then had to back up again for the ABA on the Sunday. It's a massive weekend now with so many hand-ins. But yeah,
I talked to Jay about that originally, and he was like, well, we kind of designed it so teams could pick and choose from the 6. Maybe you do 3.
Yeah, but, if you're going to be there, I do double hand-ins of everything.
Everyone just handed in. Everyone just, we'll do all 6.
We did 14. We did 14 hand-ins on Saturday.
Yeah, that's insane.
So it was really, really pushed it. But yeah, going back to the first meat stock, it was an awesome weekend. Mo was there. A lot of Aussie guys went over, Badass and that.
Yeah.
But we all cooked on GMGs, and no one had cooked on GMGs before, and so we had a quick 1 hour rundown on those things. And
now, did Bowen help you guys out with those GMGs? Is that what the deal was?
Yeah. He sponsored everyone, all the Aussies coming over. I think there was 5 teams or something.
Yeah, I think Bowen's one of those guys that gets overlooked, and I've met him a couple times, but he really helped out with a lot of guys early on with the GMGs. And you can say what you want about a pellet grill, but at the end of the day, he's stuck his neck out and helped out a lot of guys to just get going in barbecue. So shout out to GMG and Bowen. I don't cook on the product myself. I've cooked on a Traeger, but he deserves credit for the contribution to barbecue. So shout out to GMG and Bowen down at GMG for New Zealand. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Had his help.
We won the GMG last year, 2019 Auckland meat stock, and I shipped it back. And I wasn't a fan of it the first couple of cooks that I did on it, but now I love it. It's one of those things where, because I cook hot and fast, it's you can revert back to low and slow. I throw a brisket on overnight before I go to bed, and then just leave it on and wake up in the morning, and it's almost good to go. So they're really set and forget type thing. That I'd probably cook on it more than anything when I'm, especially if I've got to cook pre-cook for classes and things like that. They're good for that.
Yeah, I've always I mean I've as much as I like to give other appliances grief, obviously I've got a dog in the race, but I've always actually said it doesn't matter how you get to the and this is going back to what we talked about with Jai in the last episode. You're trying to reach barbecue nirvana. It doesn't matter how you get there, whether it's on a pellet grill, an Octopit, or anything else. Some corrugated iron leaned up against a pig cooking on a spit. The key is to get to barbecue nirvana. It's not so much about the appliance used to get there.
Yeah, so, I watched the interview with Jai, and I thought exactly the same thing after he said that. Like we all strive to get to that end, and everyone goes about it a different way. And I as soon as I heard him say that, it was, I go back to, I think I was second or third place brisket at the Invitational. Took 3.5 hours to cook it.
Yeah, I want to talk. We'll go into a little bit more detail because I know you've gone through the whole progression of low and slow to hot and fast, but let's just save that story because we have talked about that off air, and I do want to cover because I feel like you got a huge amount to contribute to that discussion. But going back to Meatstock, so that was about your third contest. You'd done it with Keith, and then I guess at some point after Meatstock, because I didn't meet you at that Meatstock, and I was cooking with Jim, Tom, and Sefton. Shout out to those boys. And we come third behind you two winners, Aussie Pit boys and Lucas. And
it was, to be honest, it was a bit unfair.
Yeah,
even though we'd only had a few comps, we were sort of, what I picked up at those first three. Yeah, what I picked up at those first, few comps back in Australia, it really put us ahead of where a lot of other guys were thinking, and it was to our advantage, definitely.
The first boxes we ever built was at Meatstock. So, and as I've confessed in I think episode 1 with Brendan, we had no idea what we were doing. We actually literally made it up while we're up there, but managed to get a consistent score across all categories, and we managed to come third. But I'm pretty sure you guys beat us probably by 20 or 30 points. It was we were massively behind you guys. So somehow. I was just talking to you the other day. I guess we got introduced somehow through Wayne at Meatstock Sydney, and from
Meatstock Sydney, yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess, well, we must have somehow bumped into each other. Maybe you're cooking next to Lucas or something. But somehow I just came over. I didn't know anybody in the Aussie scene, and I knew Jay. Like I talked to Jay on the phone a fair bit, and he just said, "Look, come over and do whatever you want." So I was spoiled as because I got all access to Meatstock Sydney, and I just walked around taking photos all day, drinking solos. So it was awesome. But somehow we got connected on Messenger, and the idea was you were coming over to Auckland to do the Cumu competition, and somehow could I borrow a pit or whatever, right? That was probably the nature of it. Can you help me out with some gear? And
I think I looked at who's going to have a pit after going to Meatstock Auckland. Not a lot of guys. Wayne had just sort of started to get into it and built a couple out of beer kegs, and a few other guys were getting creative. I think some of the other cheaper items were coming through, Mega 10 and things like that, and Bunnings and things like that through New Zealand. But I wanted a pit to cook on, and Octopit was really the only thing there. And I'm like, okay, I think I've said hello to this guy. I might just send him an email and see if he's interested. And you got back to me, and it went from there. Yeah, okay, I've got a pit. I can help you out. And do you need a table? Do you need a gazebo? It was like, wow, okay, I'm going to fly in like a rock star then, because this guy's he's got me sorted with everything. And then we just went from there to.
Hey, do you know anyone else that can help out?
Involved. Yeah, let's get more guys involved and try and create more teams. And I noticed you got the Smoke and Meat House jumper on there.
Yeah, this look. I mean, I wear this thing all the time, as Brendan knows. This is the original.
Yeah.
Look at it; it's got the original Gourmet Direct on
The
it.
original one.
So this was the one actually that Brendan gave me at that first Kumu comp. This was the original brand. He was like the first person to get into branded gear because obviously, as well, we know, you and I know that his brother-in-law runs like a studio type thing, producing garments. So he was the first person, and he fronted up to that comp. And here, I've got something for you, and pulled this out, and I've thrashed it ever since. To be honest, he has given me the updated model, and I do wear that. But I'll wear it. You give me a shirt, I'll wear it. I don't mind. And of course, I've got the the original Aussie Pit Boys hat. I've actually got a bit of a hat collection.
That was one of 10. That one.
I must have about 90 hats back there, maybe 100 hats, and so I can just go through and find whichever one I want to rep that particular. So I think this is the original one. That's but it's been sitting.
It only ever made 10.
Yeah, so that thing's probably
collector's item.
Yeah, it's probably worth something.
Yeah,
worth something to the right girl.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Brendan and Shane, they both purchased Octopits. So we're like, yeah, okay, let's get some guys that have got Octopits. We're going to cook on an Octopit. Let's try and create some more teams. Shane was, cooking a lot backyard, and Brendan was more excited about barbecue than anyone that I'd met in New Zealand. Like you said, he'd already created the smoking meat house. He'd already had a brand up and running before he started competing.
Yeah,
and was 100% from the start. Let's cook together.
All guns blazing, eh?
Yeah, let's go and let's do it and let's do our best. But I'm not going to cook with you forever because I've got the smoking meat house and this is what we're going to do. And when I do comps with him now, when we're next to each other, we do compete as separate teams, but it's like we're one team, and I can pick something up for him and give it to him, and he does the same for me because it's like he knows what I'm thinking. Because we cook so much alike now, I think with those early days where we cooked together, that we cook so much alike that we cook the same, and he can second guess what I'm going to do next, and he'll grab a pan for me, or he'll just reach over and open the pit because he's thinking 5 steps ahead. That's what he'd do, and that's exactly what I'm going to do next, and that's where we're
you
so
guys
relaxed when we cook.
I talked about team synergy with Jai, and I think the Smoke Face Grillers has got quite a magical thing there. But for sure, you and Brendan have a bit of a bromance, and just I don't know. If there was marriage and barbecue teams, you guys would be like a couple that just predict each other's moves, and
Mate, I'll tell you that,
know everything that you're doing, and
yeah, well, we're going through the journey of barbecue, but my happiest ever memory in barbecue.
You don't get teary-eyed
this year. No, it's Meatstock this year, mate. I think I've cried every time that he gets a call up because I'm so happy for him. I was more happy. I was more excited about RGCing at this year's Meatstock and him being a GC than me win.
Yeah, we've been
so happy for him to win.
We've been extremely lucky with our call-ups as of late, and I tell you what, I was ecstatic to have him win Meatstock, especially having his kids there and his family involved is just magical, So, so that's cool. So these days you're competing by yourself or with Charlene, your wife?
Yeah, well, I've always taken Charlene and the boys everywhere. Even when Al was in the team, Ange come everywhere, and we like to get away and treat it as a weekend away as well. There is a lot more of the wives going, or there's a lot of girls compete as well, but there's a lot. It's generally the guys that are away, but there are a lot more wives getting involved now. It's the same as when you touched on it with Heather competing with Matt now and Tracy, and there's a lot more girls that are getting involved, and they have their own little group then as well. Even they look forward to catching up because they probably only see each other at barbecue comps as well. So it's their little catch up, and even though we've made friends through barbecue, and the amount of people that I've met through barbecue is unbelievable. But the girls also do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like I said in previous interviews, two minds about it. For now, I just want to look. I mean, ultimately, my barbecue journey is going to involve my three children. I've got a 2-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So ultimately, it's all about them and, well, all about me, but involving them with me, something that I'm interested in. And so the wife, I guess, will get involved at that point because she'll need to help manage children and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now I'm just enjoying learning and cooking with some of my brothers and barbecue and making good mates. And I mean, I've never slept with more men in my life as I have in the last 2 years working.
Yeah, we've been
Very
staying in hotels for a
dominating.
few years now, so it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah.
Can't remember the last time I slept on site.
Yeah, we definitely gone that way. It's too fatiguing. I'm too tired. I'm getting too old. So you're cooking by yourself, and look, I mean, for those who are following Trev's or aren't familiar with Trev's journey, I've known you, I guess, 3 years now, and I guess I met you on your fourth competition or fifth, which would have been the Cumu Hot Rod, the original Jack Daniel's Cumu comp, and I've just seen you go from from losing in Napier, coming dead ass last in Napier, which I was at that comp, and then you've clawed your way up right to the top now. So, I mean, you've I see in the background there you've got quite a lot of those circular trophies, which are all the Meatstock ones. And I mean, you come reserve grand champion at the last invitational, which was in November of 2019. You come reserve at that. You've come reserve at Meatstock Auckland.
I'm a bit of a bridesmaid at the moment. I'm following Lucas. I think I looked at it and I think I was reserve grand champion 5 out of 6 comps in a row or something. It's like it'll come.
Yeah, it'll come. It'll come.
It'll come. It just doesn't all. Just if it's not one thing, it's another.
I mean, you've worked your way to. Obviously, you've got some really good processes and recipes now. Do you feel like you're afraid to change anything because, like, you feel like?
No, I've changed. I've changed a lot.
Go backwards.
No, I've changed a lot because I don't think when I listened to Joel's interview, Jai's, sorry.
You can call him Joel. I'm sure he'll like that.
Yeah, Jai's interview. If you talk to him, he'll tell you I don't like their barbecue. I don't like the taste of
smoke faces.
Smoke face. It just doesn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah.
Then when you have a look at it, we've gone. I think the top 4 at the Invitational were by a point. I think they were 3rd behind me at the Invitational.
Yeah, they did well. I mean,
by 1 point. Big Boys Toys, they GC, IRGC. Our barbecue is so far apart flavour-wise, it's not funny. So I don't think there's a flavour profile that judges actually like. I think it's like maybe a non-intrusive type palate, but I think it's more texture and.
But isn't that what a balance is all about? I mean, obviously, flavour is still present in barbecue. Like I've got a favourite rub that I like. It's by who makes it? It's called Ozark Heat. It's by Al Butzer Smoking, and Chef Tom actually put me onto it. Chef Tom from All Things Barbecue. Shout out to Chef Tom. We'll get him on actually. Do an interview with him, but he put me onto it anyway, and I've been using it lately, and I just can't get enough of it. But that doesn't mean, obviously, that it's going to do well at a comp because doesn't have maybe that broad appeal. My point is you can have a raspberry flavour, for example, in like ice cream that appeals to 99% of people.
Yeah.
But it's balanced, meaning it still tastes like raspberries or whatever. Yeah. So you've still got your particular brand of barbecue, but it's so balanced and so broad appealing to judges that you score well with it, right? And Jai and the team at Smokeface, they maybe have their own brand. Maybe they're more of a sweeter or more of a. I don't know. I mean, there's 1,000 different profiles.
Yeah, you can. Put my barbecue on a plate and their barbecue on a plate and have 10 people line up and, 10 people will like their brisket, not like mine. And I'll win and they'll come second because the judges liked it, but 10 people in the public didn't. You can swap it around and do ribs and, 9 out of 10 might like my ribs and not like theirs. you've got to find that balance.
Or do you think
it
it doesn't matter? Do you think the profile actually doesn't matter that much as long as you nail texture and you're not offensive? I mean, I could argue here. I could sit and argue and say that your barbecues doesn't taste any different from anyone else's. The only thing you're good at is nailing texture, right? And you get it right more times than anyone. Yeah.
Texture wins. You know, like I said to you at Meatstock Auckland, come and try my brisket. I knew it was good.
It was cash.
Yeah, I knew it was good, but you don't.
I thought
you don't think I'm going to win, but you know it's good. You put it in the box, and that's it.
I've never been so disappointed. Like I tried our one, and I thought, ours is pretty good. It was a good brisket. It was a little bit. It wasn't quite there texturally, but I thought maybe we could get away with it. And then I tried yours, and I was like, "Frick, man, get away with nothing." Like your one,
you didn't have to compete next to Brendan all weekend. I just looked at him and just went, "That's money. That's money." And I looked at Wendy and I said, "He's on a roll. He's on a good cook. He's on a good cook." She's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah. Don't say anything. Don't say anything." He said, because, and he's like, "Yeah, taste this." And I just taste it and turn away and go, "Oh shit." I knew like he nailed everything that weekend. It was unbelievable. I've cooked with him a lot, and that's the best I've seen him cook. And he just absolutely nailed everything you put in the box that weekend.
I want to talk to you about a comp you nailed recently, and I did allude to it earlier, which was the Invitational that Black Bear Barbecue hosted. Shout out to the Black Bear boys. Love you guys. And that was a good competition in November. It was sort of like you could say it's like the national champs, if you like, for those who don't follow competitive barbecue. And you competed there at, where was it, out in Windsor or something? Was that
Hawkesbury Showground out at Richmond.
Yeah, that's it, Hawkesbury.
Clarendon, yeah.
So, I come over and I wasn't competing that weekend, so I actually had the time to be a fly on the wall and to go and have a look at, some different people's cooking and whatnot. And I saw you cooking in your little setup, and, you're cooking on for everyone at home, he's cooking on a Octopit Backyard XL, which is a 3-tray barbecue. It's not a huge barbecue. You can go look that up on Facebook if you want to go to the Octopit New Zealand site. Anyway, he's cooking his whole cook, all 5 categories, in this little barbecue. And I'm just like, I still can't, and I did allude to this in some of the other interviews, I just can't understand how you can cook. Like, I don't understand how you can cook all that on one little barbecue.
Well, it started from having to pay for meat myself and being tight.
Yeah.
So it's like less is best. But what it was, I was really sick of lugging everything around. I could nail everything on the Octopit. I started to cook hot and fast. So, I just feed the thing. And if it runs at 300, it runs at 300. If it runs at 350, well, it runs at 350. You just adjust your cook times. It's it's people who want to fight with pits and run to 225, 250, 300, 350. I just feed it, and whatever it runs at, that's what you cook at. It's one of the first lessons that I got to
echo that sentiment. As the more competent I've become at cooking, the more I've said stuff. I mean, I don't even have gauges on some of my barbecues.
No, I don't. I use I use like the Javelin or Thermopan or just the digital thermometers. But most of the time I don't look at it. I might have a sneaky look, but otherwise I'm just using it as a probe just to test whether it's done or, it's just a feel. I think there's a few things that when I feel that I started to cook a bit better, was when I spoke to Clint from More Pork. He's like, it's barbecue. It's pretty simple. Get rid of all the gadgets and just go off feel and your sight. So when you like the color, wrap. When it probes like butter, it's done. It's that simple. Don't stick a probe in it, and when it gets to 205 or 207 or 210 or this is done or that's done, it's you're worrying about things too much that you don't need to worry about.
Yeah, but I mean I can totally understand for the guys at home. Like, when you're starting out, you don't have any clue what you're doing, so you need some kind of definitive guide on what it should look like, or
it comes with practice. It's like when you cook been
able to probe a brisket or whatever, been able to look at a piece of chicken and say, yeah, it looks money. That all comes from experience. And if you're only starting out and you're only cooking your 3rd brisket, you're never going to get it right. So I can understand the desire for people to use thermopens and gadgets, right? But definitely I can tell you that what's the word? one of the indicators of someone who's really experienced is they can nail barbecue and they don't use any of that gadgetry because they don't need it.
I found it actually helped me.
Use their senses.
Yeah, I found it actually helped me once I got rid of it and started to actually feel what the meat was doing at different times of the cook. And that's, you know, it's resonated through to how I cook a brisket as well, which we've spoke about before, where I cook it in the 3 zones. And that's, you know, that's, I don't know if anyone else does that, but it works for me. And
you talked about this, and I was like, hey, don't bring up the 3 zones. I think that's really, yeah, okay.
No, it's
so if everyone at home, he's obviously prepared to disclose it. But, you know, I found this absolutely fascinating. I called Trev up after Meatstock Auckland. I was heading over to the Houston Livestock Show, and I wanted to get some, just, I don't know, I mean, you'd nailed that brisket, and I guess it was still in my mind. And I rang him up and I said, mate, you've got to be kidding me. You cook that whole Meatstock comp on a backyard of 4, which is our, you know, our little 4 tray, you know, 2 tray with 2 extras. And I'm like, how the hell did you do that? And you explained to me this concept. So for the guys sitting at home, if you don't mind, and I guess some people will like it some way, but I think it's brilliant. Tell us about how you only cook 1 brisket and how you sort of break it into 3 briskets.
Yeah, so the hottest spot in the, especially the Octopits, is normally that top left-hand corner. I always run it reverse. I always put the flat.
Now, some fireboxes are on the left, some are on the right with an Octopit. So you're talking the top corner above the firebox or the top corner opposite?
No, top corner opposite. Yeah, I find that's always sort of the hottest part. No, sorry, top corner above the firebox. I'm running a reverse, so it's the top corner above the firebox.
Okay, yeah.
I find is the hottest all the time. So what I do is some people cook the brisket, they turn, they do a thing with it. Everyone's got their own way of cooking. I've found that if I put the brisket in one spot and I leave it there and I don't touch or move it and just have it in that exact spot all the time, I hedge my bets and I cook to 3 different zones. So what I do is, when I'm probing, you'll always find, because it is so much hotter up in that top corner, and I normally, if I've cooked on other pits, I just find out where the hot zones are. But it'll always cook that left-hand side quicker than what it will cook the middle or the right. So it cooks the brisket at 3 different stages. So it depends on the comp and how the type of brisket I'm cooking. And like, I'm cooking shares at the moment, and they cook really, really well. Like my brisket that I won first place with at Auckland was cooked in 2.5 hours. So they like a good 4 or 5 hour rest. So for those guys
at home, there's got to be guys at home, and I'm going to advocate for them. You're full of it. There's no way you can cook a brisket in 2.5 hours. So when you're saying that, and obviously I believe you, but I'm just saying, for the guys at home who say it can't be done, they've got to remember that you're trimming a brisket down so it's about 50 mils thick. It's consistently trimmed right through, so it's one like a pane of brisket, and you're cooking it at like 350 degrees, right? And it's a Wagyu, you know, we're talking an 8-9 plus with the shur. Great brisket.
Yeah, so I normally cook, like, I'll trim an 8 kilo brisket down to 3 kilos for a competition, and separating the point and the flat. And the flat, you know, it's normally, I thought I was doing pretty well to be done in 3.5 hours at the Invitational, but 2.5 hours at Meatstock it just flew through. I think I probed it 2 hours in, and I nearly fell through it and went, oh, hang on, this is nearly done. I hadn't even wrapped it or anything. I thought, it's nearly done. See, the thing is too with competition, I don't cook to set the bark or anything. Bark doesn't win comps. So it's a completely different to cooking at home.
Different beast,
Yeah, so, you know, and what I do is I cook it, and I probe the left-hand side, the middle, and the right-hand side of the brisket of how it is sitting in the rack. Sometimes, and I don't know why, but brisket does funny things. Sometimes the middle will be done before the left or the right is done. 9 times out of 10, it's the left where the hottest spot, which is done before the middle or the right. And what I do is I have in my mind that I have that brisket set to 3 different zones, and as soon as one of those zones probes that it's done, that's when it's done.
See you later.
So if the left-hand side probes that it's done, but the middle is still probing tight, and then the right is probably nowhere near done, it still comes off the pit. But because I rested
this
for
is
5
the thing.
hours.
Yeah, this is the thing, that you rest it for so long.
Yeah, so it's got
that
that,
it basically
it
carries
continues
over.
to cook. It carries over into the Canberra anyway. So, it's only on the pit for 2.5, 3 hours, but, it's wrapped and it goes in. And when you take it out after 5 hours, it's still smoking hot. It's like you've just taken off the pit. It's that hot still. So it has continued to cook. But what I find is, if the left-hand side is probed, is being done, after it's been in the Canberra for 4 or 5 hours, and I take it out to slice it, I'll still take slices from where it was done, or sometimes that goes over a little bit and I'm taking from the center.
Yeah.
Or sometimes that might be not the money shot and it'll be a bit further down. But
I love it.
It's really,
I love it.
It's really like cooking 3 briskets. I'm only cooking 1, but I'm hedging my bets because you only need 6 slices. It just gives you that.
You're just accepting that. You're just accepting that in a profile of brisket, that you're going to find a good texture somewhere in that thing, and you only need 6 slices. So, I mean, if the wife's eating overdone brisket, she ain't going to be bothered by it. And if there's a little bit that's still tight, you just put it back in the Canberra, and no harm, no foul, as long as you got your 6 to 8 good slices from somewhere in that, you're good to go. Which I thought, I mean, this is the second time we've really gone through it, but I thought it was brilliant. There's a couple of things there that are really critical, though, to your process that probably the guy at home can't duplicate. And one, he's got a massively high value, high scored brisket. I mean, sure, has to be, dare I say, the best brisket in Australia, at least fricking one of them, right? There could be some people who argue like Father Brands, but I've cooked a fair amount of briskets in Aussie, and I'd have to say that those Shures are one of the best easily. So you've got a massively marbled piece of Wagyu, and the thing I like about the Shures is they're nice and thick, so you get probably at least a good 40 to 50 millimeters of flat after you've done your comp trim and everything. Second, you've got a very consistent piece of meat in terms of, it looks like it's come out of one of those sausage makers, in terms of it's like a rectangle, it's curved, and it's all effectively all the same thickness right through it. So you're getting a really even profile, so that as you put it on the heat, it's going to cook pretty much evenly relative to the piece of meat. And then key, which you didn't point out when you talked to me before, was that you put it in the hottest part of the barbecue, and you just leave the damn thing alone. You don't turn it around, you don't flip it, you just put it in there and let the heat just bathe it in heat and let it cook.
Yeah,
and right. I love the idea. So he's mentally breaking that brisket into three sections, 1, 2, 3, and maybe he's got a really hot fire, and then he's just mentally saying, look, let's try from here, let's try from there, after you've rested it for quite a long time, 5 hours, 4 hours. Your Canberra is pre-warmed before you bang it in there, or is that the first protein going in the Canberra?
No, first protein going in. The way that I compete now, because everything's hot and fast, I throw it all on at once and it just all goes in the Canberra. The way that I know that I'm on time is I have everything sitting in the Canberra before chicken goes on.
Yeah.
So which helps
when
with
we're
only
starting
cooking on
our
one small Octopit.
When we're starting our cook at whatever 9:30, we put our chicken on. You're actually done. You're just putting your chicken on as the last protein. And I think that's the actual magic. I mean, Piggy does something similar, and that's the magic of being organised and really having a real good handle on proteins, is that because then you're taking all of the pressure out of the cook. And I remember watching you guys compete, and you're just sitting around having beers, and I'm like, frick, man, we're still, we're charging. And I mean, I kind of think you can only do that if you're cooking hot and fast. I mean, can you get away with it doing low and slow? I mean, it doesn't really work the same, does it?
No, it doesn't. I just find it gives you so much time. If you, especially most comps now are an hour between hand-ins, and even by yourself, it's an hour is way too much time, and you end up sitting around. So it's,
I've done some KCBS, and bro, it's pretty tight, especially if you've got a complicated lamb box or something like that. It's tight to try and do it all in half an hour on the back of another one. I actually like the ABA style, where you've got that hour, you do your hand and maybe takes half an hour. You got 15 minutes to muck around and 15 minutes to start into your new box, your next box. So I actually like the 1 hour. I'd rather do that than the half-hour intervals.
I get a bit fiddly, so I've got to go for walks. I go for a walk and hassle other teams, and then come back 15 minutes to go or something. And I've got different things. Like when I'll rest my pork ribs for about 2 or 3 hours, and then I'll pull them out half hour beforehand and then have a look at them and say, okay, well they're ready to sauce up and go back.
But again, I mean, I've never really talked, and this is obviously talking very technical, competitive barbecue guys at home listening on your treadmill or whatever. Do you think it would work? And I suspect not. Do you think it would work if you'd done the low and slow cook? I think that your method, the sort of Cambro method, I think that only works because you've got so much thermal momentum in that meat, and it actually needs to rest because you cooked it so bloody fast. It actually needs to rest and reabsorb.
Fast, yeah.
See, the guys, and that's something that I haven't really. People ask me hot and fast or low and slow, and I've always cooked low and slow. I mean, I started out at 225 and worked up to 250. I mean, I thought 275 was hot and fast at one point. But really, I mean, we're talking about probably around 325, give or take 25 degrees. I mean, I cook commercially now every damn week, and I'm cooking at 350 every damn week. It's just like, why take 10 hours to do something you can do in 6 hours?
Yeah, if you adjust the way you cook it, it comes out the same. I can't see any difference. You're just adjusting how you're cooking, and you get your colour a lot quicker, and you wrap a lot earlier, and it just pushes through. I don't even know what a stall is because it's that hot. It just pushes through it.
Yeah, I agree with you. The stall's for people that cook low and slow, which is cool. I mean, I'm not trying to allude that hot and fast people are better, but I mean, I've definitely done my share of low and slow, and I'm now cooking hot and fast. And I can tell you, like, you have to worry about a lot less of the ride, but you have to know what you're doing to cook hot and fast. Like, you can easily overdo it.
Yeah, I think I got lazy with it. I think I got lazy, and after speaking to a few different people, like I remember having a conversation with Lucas, and he said to me, don't try and win. Try and get consistent. And then I think after that comp, he GC'd the next comp and he didn't have a call-up. And I took it on board, and I thought, you know what, don't try and win every category. Just try and get consistent and just concentrate on, on your texture. And he's another one who cooks hot and fast and has everything in the can. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do it at a comp, and let's try it. And all of a sudden, we were at Gloucester, it was, with Al, and the pit just run at 300. And everything was ready, and it was in the Canberra, and we're like, okay, we don't know how this is going to go.
It's a whole other thing.
Well, so we're like...
Because we've sold a lot of those Octopit XLs, and when we designed it, we did it in CAD and did the modelling and all the crap with it. And, we really designed it to specifically run at, 250 to 275, and that's kind of reflective of where I was at the time, because I really designed the pit. But what I noticed with you is you run yours a lot hotter than anyone else. You're probably the hottest. I mean, the Smokeface guys have run theirs at 350, but that was sort of like just a one-off because they're, I feel like they're behind the gun a little bit. So they're really pushing it. But you typically do run yours above 300, like on a regular basis. And you seem to be the only one who does do it. I mean, I'm intrigued about, I don't know, I'm intrigued about how, and I guess if I was to say, look, be honest, how we've never really talked about how you like cooking on the Octopit, and I know you've said favourable things, but I mean, what like, no BS.
You can answer that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously you're winning on it, but
you've said to me all along. Notice how you started to win once you started cooking on it.
Well, I like to think you started to win once you started cooking on it, but that's really not true.
Big part of it. It was a big part of it, and like I said, it runs better on smaller sticks. I normally, the quarter cuts, I halve or quarter again, and just crisscross them over, and I get 45 minutes out of each time I feed it. And I'm lucky to go through 10, 12 kilos of ironbark per comp in a cook, and I hardly use anything at all, and it just runs. And that was it goes back to it's only barbecue. Don't overthink it. Just just throw everything in, get it done. When it's done, it's done. Don't cook to temps and things, and let your pit just run at what it runs at, and cook to how it runs. And I used to always run a few small sticks in there, and it would cruise on 225, 230. And I thought, if I had 2 more, what's it going to do? So I added 4 more and had a raging fire in there, and 45 to 50 minute burn it gets, and it held really steady at 300 or just over. So I thought, okay, well, this is how much I put in, and this is how it runs, and it's easy to run it at that, and I don't have to think about it. And
it's funny because I don't actually even own I don't own one of the backyard barbecues. I mean, I got the backyard of 4 that you've got. You've actually got mine, but the backyard of 4 that you use on comps is actually not a few meters from where I am right now. It still hasn't been cleaned since you last used it, but I think Mikey Lettingham's coming to get it actually. So a bit of bad news there, but
he'll have the most winningest barbecue in New Zealand.
Anyway, but we are actually. I am in the process of developing the second generation of the BBQer XL, and there's going to be a couple of pretty big changes to it, and those will reflect, I guess, the way that I'm cooking right now, which is on the hot and fast end of the spectrum. I wish it wasn't so expensive to ship one over to you, but I'd actually love to see how you maybe you can use it. Maybe
gravity fed.
Well, obviously I cook on the gravity fed, and so this one that is actually my pit is a gravity fed, and it is finished and it's ready to cook on. I just haven't got around to actually firing it up, but it's got a couple of pretty significant changes that I think will make a huge difference to how our team uses it. We tend to always be pushing our gravity fed pretty hard to get it to cook at 325, and ultimately the barbecue just wasn't designed to cook at that temperature. So we've increased air flow, and we've done some pretty major changes, which will be announced as part of the rollout of that barbecue. But I'm really curious to see how someone like you might use it, and maybe I'll get one organised for you to cook on when you come over for Napier, and just see how you go with it.
Because I don't cook a lot as well, it doesn't draw a lot of heat really quick. Like when you're loading if you've got a pit and you're putting 3 briskets in it, and you're loading it all up, and I cook very minimal, and that's it helps as well. And it goes back to talking with Brendan. So most of the time in a competition, I'll cook, say, 8 portions of chicken and 6 go in the box. Some ridiculous. Competitions I've cooked 6. You just take your time with it, and you on average it takes me 7 hours to trim up for a competition, to trim my meat.
That's excessive.
But
see, I'm going to make a prediction just while you're talking. You're going to do well at the next Napier comp, hopefully, and I'll give you the prediction.
If I can get there.
Is that the reason being why is because you're used to cooking just 1 or 2, like you only cook 1 brisket, we always cook 2. You only cook 6 bits of chicken, we always cook a dozen. You cook 2 racks of ribs, we cook 3. I mean, we just got so much more food to deal with. And for us, that's redundancy, right? Because how many times have I pulled ribs out and I can't even find 6 good bones out of 3 racks of ribs, So,
because you've got more to handle.
Yeah, and I've cooked
more rubs, more to wrap, more to look after.
Yeah.
If you're concentrated on 2 racks of ribs, 1 brisket, 8 portions of chicken.
Yeah.
So many portions of lamb. When I back from it, from like
vast
a full
quantities
down to like a collar
Mo
butt.
money.
You just cook collar butts and mo monies, whatever you want to call it, and it's so much easier. You use less rub, less sauce, less foil, less time, less everything. I said 7 hours it takes me to trim. I spend extra time trimming up and making sure everything's perfect and tied and wrapped and looks good. So when it is cooked, all it really just has to be sliced and put in the box. You don't need to do any extra work to it, and that's I found that works best for me. It doesn't work best for everyone, but Brendan does the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, would you say that that's been? I mean, you talked earlier about your recipe development with Brendan, but would you say that adapting the way you cook so that it's more of a front load. Hasn't that been part of the critical success? I mean, isn't that
huge?
Yeah, so I mean, guys show up with the winning rub formula, but they show up half baked and they got to do all the work on site, and they're just sabotaging their whole cook.
Cooking's the easy part.
Yeah.
Cooking is the easiest part. It's the same as what you touched on with Jai, that Barrett had all his, like, I've done 14 comps in New Zealand.
Barrett's great, yeah.
14 comps of
You've done more comps in New Zealand than most teams have done in New Zealand. Like, I don't even know that I've done 14 comps in New Zealand. I suppose I have.
But, you have everything measured out, and you're looking at baggage weight, and you're looking, you don't want to take a massive big suitcase over with everything. I'm lucky because you supply me with a lot of stuff. Luke from Jack Daniels, he helps me out with the gazebo all the time and has helped me through all the competitions. And so Luke's been awesome in supporting everyone that comes over.
I mean, Clint's always picking you up and dropping you off at the airport.
That's it. Everyone's helped, and that's the thing. Without guys like yourself and Brendan, and I can't mention everyone, but Luke and to help grow the barbecue over there, it doesn't happen. It's more or less non-existent for any Aussie teams going over. And Jai touched on that as well, where he made a phone call to you, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think like for me, and I alluded to this in my interview with Brendan. Like, I'm such a big fan of cooking as much as you can with as many people as you can. And what I've learned is that if you're going to go, like, I've flown to the US and I've had my buddy drive his 4.5 ton trailer literally halfway across the US so that I could cook it, like, somewhere here or there. If you're gonna ask someone to do that for you with any kind of degree of confidence, you have to have done it for fricking a bunch of people yourself, right? So I mean,
I missed out on cooking with Matt from Truck Norris this year because of like Meatstock Melbourne.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it. I could have went and competed by myself, but I thought, it's something that I want to do is cook with other people and other teams, and Matt sort of, we were talking, and I'm like, yeah, jump in, mate, let's do it. Let's, I can bring down a lot of the gear, and let's organise some other stuff. The Butcher's Axe guys helped us out with a pit, and everyone comes to everyone's aids, and it's easy to sort of hook up.
It's such a real community what we've got. I just I don't know. I mean, do synchronized swimmers have this type of group on Facebook where they all help each other out?
I'm surprised more Australian teams haven't been to New Zealand. Like, I did a costing of it before.
Probably because they don't believe that people will actually help them, because I know you guys are so spread out over there, and you wouldn't ask someone to drive a pit from Newcastle all the way down to Victoria. I mean, obviously people do it, but for us, like, Hamilton's 2 hours from Auckland, so I usually have. I mean, I got at least 4 barbecues that I could compete off right now, right here at my site, and so to put, I mean, with enough notice, you can definitely help people out. And there's so many GCs up in Auckland now. We put the word out for Bad Bones to get some help. Last minute, old Izzy steps up.
Like, I worked it out.
Flipping awesome.
I worked it out last year, and it cost me $2,800 to come to Meatstock Auckland.
Yeah,
that's everything. That's it all up.
Flights,
and it cost me $2,700 to go to Melbourne.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And I went to Auckland for an extra day, so the extra day cost me $100.
Yeah,
it's
still a big chunk of change for doing a hobby, right? $2,000, boom, see you later.
Oh yeah, it's massive. Yeah, it's huge. But
it
helps when you win. It helps when you win a little bit.
It's a good thing you're using those Victorinox knives, bro.
Yeah. And if you're not getting call ups, it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah, we've had a nice boat. We've got some great sponsors on our team, as have you. Victorinox do make great knives. We use heat beads. I mean, what are you cooking on right now? Fuel wise, who are you using right now for fuel?
A mix at the moment. I'm not sponsored, so I'm free to use whatever I want for a change. Kingsford mostly, because I still have a little bit. But I cooked on some heat beads the other day, which is, I found a bag in the garage. It's the first time that I cooked on heat beads for probably a year, and they were great.
I
cooked on sandbar. I've probably had a lot of fun now cooking with a lot of different things that are out there that I hadn't cooked on before, because even though you get tied into sponsors, and you because the sponsors really look after you, they give you a lot of product to use, and you push their product, but you only push their product because you like using it. It's not like you got your hand out just for a handout. Like I'm not going to.
Look, I can tell you categorically, I can cook on a heat bead if I actually think a B&B's better, right?
Well, exactly. And that's what you do.
I mean,
we're in the situation now where it's great that we do have sponsors, and sponsors. Without sponsors, there's nowhere near as many teams around. There's no way that I would do the amount of comps that I do.
Sure.
with Suckliffs, the meat that Suckliffs give me, and it's the quality and the time that they spend, and I give back to them in the way of we do free classes and things, and if you work with your sponsors and it's a give and take relationship, you can both take something out of it, and that you're not putting your hand out to everyone just
give me
free product. You're giving back, and you're only supporting those products that you actually believe in anyway. So
I mean, I've been reasonably fortunate in that being in the industry, I don't really care how much things cost, because obviously the industry, the employment pays for it. So I'm kind of lucky that I get to control the accounts as well as get to funnel funds towards activities that I'm interested in, which obviously at barbecue business, there's nothing better for the business than actually winning some barbecue comps. So I kind of did the toughie stone and created a business to support my lifestyle. But regardless, I mean, I definitely wouldn't promote a product I don't believe in. And I think most of the guys out there who are taking product and sponsored, I think they are very genuine about their belief. And, I think Jai brought up a really interesting concept, and it was what you touched on earlier, that all of us have our own method of reaching barbecue nirvana, and maybe you do it with a Victorinox and a knife in your hand, and I do it with a Wistoff, and that's just what I choose to use. But ultimately, we both get to the same destination. But so speaking of destinations, so what have you got on the cards for? I mean, hopefully this COVID bubble thing works out between the Trans-Tasman bubble. What have you got on the cards? Like, what's left of the season for you?
I've got a lot of credit coming through for airlines, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the same.
I book everything early, so I normally book non-refundable flights, and I book them a year in advance and try and get in early. So this side, there's nothing really that's set yet until we know what's happening.
But I heard you guys are all going to the beach and everything. Aren't you guys back competing again?
No, not yet. Come on. I think. Well, I'm happy about this little bubble that they're talking about, having this Trans-Tasman bubble, because it means that I'll be able to get back over to the West Shore.
So you're definitely, I know you're definitely keen to lock in the West Shore. The big question is, are you prepared to share a room with us again?
Yeah, that's all right. Noise cancelling headphones.
Yeah,
but
sure.
like I at the beginning of the year or last year, I booked in Meatstock Auckland, the Invitational in Napier, and the West Shore as well. I'm now that I've got credits, I might.
You may come to Mania. Is that
Mania or something like that.
Yeah, well, just be warned, if you come to Mania, probably ain't gonna win nothing. So just.
Well, I've put my hat in the ring for long room twice and I haven't been drawn out, so I might throw my hat in the ring again for that.
Well, I actually suspect that we've missed long room this year just by the nature of, and I don't want to speak for Luke because obviously it's his gig, but if you think about it, long room's supposed to happen shortly, and that's just no possibility that that's going to happen. Not to mention the long room actually front up for some of that, as does Jack Daniels, and it's just unreasonable to ask businesses to do any extramural spending when they're just struggling to stay in business. So I don't know, and again, I can't speak for Luke, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have to put that one off for a year. It just seems unreasonable.
I think that's when all the powers got together with Brendan's Comfort Invitational, it was the same thing. The call was made on who knows whether it can be
flipping affordability of it. Yeah,
who knows whether it can be even a thing. We're going to be allowed out to do it, and then a team's going to have enough money to do it. So it probably needs that gap. There's a lot of guys over here, a lot of promoters at the moment trying to push comps in towards the end of the year, but and it'll be good, but there's so much uncertainty. I'm hopeful that I can come over for the West Shore. Brendan's changed the days now and tried to have the full on the Saturday and the Sunday. So I've got to try and book new flights and things like that for return now, because I was coming home on the Sunday. I'll need to change that for the Monday, but I'm not going to commit to it until I know for sure that I can get over there. So it's sort of a everyone's in a wait and see type pattern. There's a lot of talk over here of guys wanting to do comps and get comps organised and, you know, push them all to the back of the year. But, you know, you can't do a comp every weekend. People just can't afford it, and so then those competitions will suffer.
As a promoter, having my promoter hat on for Barbecue Mania 3, we have started. I mean, we've got a bit of a group where we're putting the dates together, and I'll tell you what, you better hold on if you think, you better start saving now if you think you're going to be competing in September, October, November, because there's going to be a lot of comps that are in that little short period. And,
yeah, but it's not. It's also not fair on those promoters who have their competitions in November, because then they're relying on teams that and they might have been around for 3 or 4 years already.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go and have your comp 2 hours down the road,
two weeks before,
2 weeks before, and then they're like, well, oh, hang on, we're not going to do your comp now because we do actually like this comp. It's normally like 6 months ago, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, as a
report with that promoter, and
thinking about barbecue, thinking about Barbecue Mania in that regard, I think like we may just have to be more realistic about what sponsors are able to tip in for prize money, and, you know, smaller prize money, smaller comp, more viable. You know, like we've been talking about planning for Barbecue Mania 3, and, you know, we've always done $11,000 in prize money. That just may not be possible this year. You know, one we'll get a worse turnout for the comp, given the number of comps in that season, and 2, our sponsors just might not be able to have the economic availability to help us to run that event. You know, so I don't know what the future holds, but
teams understand
we'll just have to see what happens. Yeah,
teams understand that, and that's the biggest part of it. You know, there's not a huge money in barbecue as it is, but it costs a lot to put it on, and that's, you know,
it does cost a lot to put it on. That's for sure.
It costs a lot to put it on. It costs a lot for teams to be there, but there's not a lot of money to come out of it. You know, it's a hobby that we do for the love of it. You know, there's no way that you could be a professional barbecuer in Australia or New Zealand. You'd go broke.
Look, I only know of a handful of people who can be professional barbecuers, period, in the world, right?
Period,
exactly. Literally a handful. In fact, I think Big Mo Kayson's a good example. I mean, this is a guy with global reputation, probably the biggest brand in barbecue at the minute, like as of the date, right down there in the corner. And I mean, the guy only just quit his full-time job last year. He was working full-time, doing barbecue comps and that on the weekends, and he's only just got to the point where he can sort of sustain it. Now, I've talked to Mo about it, and, you know,
that's that sort of status.
He's glad, you know, he's taken off and all that, and it's been a good move for him. But man, he's competed for years without having to financially support the whole thing himself, you know. So. And, you know, he's literally one of the biggest recognizable brands on the planet in terms of barbecue, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's really hard unless you are someone like Myron, where you've got books, and you know, it's all the little things that have to add up along the way.
It is for sure.
That can support something. You're doing classes. You're doing, you know.
Well, I think when Myron got onto it, when Myron was, you know, Myron's definitely one of the most recognisable pitmasters. I mean, he hasn't cooked comps for a long time, but anyway, regardless, I'm not trying to diminish from his achievement. But Myron has, I mean, he was competing at a time when the pie was a lot smaller, right? So I mean, you go to the Royal now, there's 700 teams. You know, he didn't even.
Yeah.
So, I mean, cooking at you know, in some regards, when they filmed that original season of Pitmasters that we keep referring to, that's kind of where Australia is at now, where you go to a comp and there's probably, you know, maybe 30, 40 teams. I mean, that's, you know, even those comps Myron went to was probably bigger than that, you know. So,
but it's still daunting.
Yeah,
I still get nervous and everything before every comp.
Oh, look, I think we all do. I froth, mate. I'm frothing at the. I can't wait to get back into comps, but I tell you, it's daunting going to any kind of prize giving because you have to face the reality of your cook, and you know,
there's so many
sometimes it
good
ain't that
cooks
hot.
around. That's the thing. You know, everyone's got that much respect for everyone, and you walk around and you taste everyone's barbecue, and you're like, wow, that's good, that's good, that's good. I'm in trouble here, because
Yeah,
you know it's what it's like. It's not like where you can
for
walk
sure.
through a yard with 20 or 30 teams, and you can go, oh, okay, well those 5 guys, you know, they're probably the competition, and the rest are mid packers or
Yeah,
whatever. It's
yeah,
you know, it's 99% of teams now that you've got to look out for. The call-ups that are at competitions now can be all over the shop.
yeah.
You know, you look at QMU this year. QMU is one of
I
those
was
comps
I was actually going to bring
agree.
that up, bro. I mean,
I
we got
agree with
bloody
you that
lucky to
it's
win that one.
the worst judging in New Zealand for sure. I agree with you.
No, I never said it.
There's special
Sorry,
judges out there.
I have to just stop you there. I never said it was the worst. I said they have their own unique brand.
Yeah, they're special judges there. Like I've always said it, and I come over like this year. I wasn't going to come, and then my wife said, you know, go because you know I really went to see Caleb. That's why I come over. That's really the 99% of the reason why I went to QMU was to catch up with Caleb, and that's one of those things that gets you as well. So I won't talk about that.
Yeah, it's you know what, to just I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a minute to just, you know, to feel that love for Caleb.
I shouldn't have touched on that one. I shouldn't have touched on that. That one gets me as well.
You know, we miss the brother. You know, like I don't think comps will be the same. In reflecting about Barbecue Mania 3, I thought about Caleb and his boys who competed at Barbecue Mania 1 and they reserved it. And, you know, it just wasn't the same at Barbecue Mania 2 without him. And, you know, rest in peace, Caleb. We love you. And we look forward to competing again, but we certainly don't look forward to doing it without Caleb around. So I'm hoping to. I was actually thinking about his boys today earlier, and I was thinking, man, I certainly hope to see them at comps. And you never know, one of them might show up with a more better shirt on one of these days. So
yeah, no, that'd be good. No, but you know, going back to it, I think I had one of the best cooks that I ever cooked last year when Adam Rothwell come over with me.
What, at QMU?
At QMU, and I think I finished about 14th or 15th, and we're on the plane the way back. I'm going, can you believe that? And I just no idea.
Mint
and then,
jelly.
you know, 3 weeks later, I'm back there and I win Meatstock. And then I go this year, and the same thing happens, and I'm just like, okay. But I think Brendan finished 3rd, and I normally gauge on what I do to what he does. We are pretty close to, you know, we're there or thereabouts. And I was like, wow, okay, well, I think I finished 7th or 8th or something like that overall. So I was not too bad. And,
I love that. I actually,
RGC.
Look, I personally love those QMU judges now. I mean, up until, you know, I think they've really got it on point.
yeah. Enjoy that.
But they are. I mean, I think that's the key to you know. I mean, there's a bit of regional.
They're not bad judges. I'd just say, you know.
I never said they were bad.
That's one of the hardest. That's one of the hardest comps to win, I reckon.
I agree with you.
I haven't done every comp in New Zealand, but I've got a good gist of, you know, the other areas, and I think that QMU would be one of the hardest comps to win.
I personally, and no, this is not just saying because we did well at it. Look, I've always said I believe QMU to be the hardest comp to win, and I'll give you my evidence for that is that you have that kind of that QMU profile where, you know, like someone like you who's, you know, you've reserved Meatstock twice now. You're pretty consistent, you know, and I don't know where you had all your rubs get stolen that other year, so you didn't do as well. But my point is you're consistent at Meatstock, right? And so in some regards, you can expect a half decent result if you have a good cook at Meatstock. But QMU, man, you can have a great cook and still come mid-packer, you know? It's just like, you can have a pretty good cook and win it. I mean, you know, it's like, it's QMU. They're their own thing up there.
That's what it is. It's QMU. You've got to, I think when you go to QMU, it's like the barbecue comp is this big and the hot rod show is this big. You got to enjoy the atmosphere is awesome at the competition.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got to enjoy the whole atmosphere of the whole weekend. But yeah, I've just got to stop this fly in, fly out thing because I don't get to enjoy it. I'm there to cook barbecue and then leave again, but I don't get enough time to catch up with everyone and actually enjoy having a beer with people. And
yeah, so I mean, I'm the same. I've done a lot of that. I've done a lot of that in the last year, about 18 months, just a ton of it. And you know what? If COVID-19 lockdowns taught me anything, it's to just pump the freaking brakes, son. You know, just enjoy the journey
You're
a
the
bit
same.
more.
When you come over, you're the same. We catch up for dinner one night, and then it's
That's
comp,
it, man.
and you're
See
home
you
the
later.
next day, and that's it. It's you never really, other than like you said, we talk a lot on the phone, and you chat like that, but you just don't get, we're friends outside of barbecue as well, and
Yeah.
like especially with Brendan and with Clint and a lot of the guys that are over there now. I'd love to just catch up, and we do have our time when we're there, but it's a night, and that's about it. I'd like to have a few days where we could kick back and just take a day, and or a couple of days and things like that. So we managed to do that in West Shore last year, where we ducked out to one of the vineyards on the Thursday or the Friday and just had a lunch, and it was just good to not talk barbecue, just kick back and just have a lunch for a few hours before we come back to the competition. And the friends that you make in barbecue,
I'm hoping Derek's smoke on the coast is going to be a little bit more relaxed being at a camping ground. I just feel like,
yeah,
I agree with you. We just been, like when we show up to a comp, I mean, it's game face, like you're there to freaking beat the guy, but as much as I respect and love those guys, at the end of the day, I'm there to beat them at something that we're all passionate about. So you kind of, like I don't know, it's like high stakes poker. You can't enjoy it as much because you've got so much to lose, I guess.
You spend so much money to be there. And that's the thing. You can't just go there and drink all weekend and, hope for the best. You look at it and think, well, the weekend cost me $2,000. I could have gone away for a weekend with the family and another family, and we could have spent $2,000 rather than just go there and get pissed and cook a barbecue. And
you could have got the shower fixed.
Yeah, there's all different things. When you start to add it up and you think, if you go on there and it costs you a few $100s for a weekend, and you're splitting it 4 ways between your team and everything, and you want to go there and have a few beers, well, and that's your comp team, well that's it. But then, I'm a bit like Jai. I watched the whole interview you did with him, and
well, you made it through.
I hate losing. I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm humble. I'm pretty humble when I win. I don't like to jump around and everything. I'm pretty humble when I win. I love it when my friends win. I love to see like mates get call-ups and everything. That gives me more of a thrill than anything else. Seeing guys that I know have put so much time into barbecue and get call-ups, new teams who have never had call-ups before, that gives me more of a buzz than anything. And that's the biggest thing that I find is, guys that you've helped out online, or they've asked you a question, and I don't pretend to know everything. Everyone's learning all the time, and I'm continuing to learn every day. But I know a little bit. I'm there to, if they want to ask a question, it's I'm more than happy to help, and if it helps them in any little way, well then it helps. So, and then when they get a call up, you're like, yes, I might have had a little thing to do with
2%. I might have influenced that by 2%.
Yeah, that's right. Then you think that I might add that little 1% even. It's like then you ask them, they go, yeah, that it helped. It helped if I did this and did that, and we've all had help of people along the way. I remember like Ash, who's at Full Throttle now, having the Full Throttle beers. He taught me how to trim my brisket. I used to, I watched online and had to do this and had to do this, and he come over one night and said, "Do you know what you're doing?" I'm like, "Oh, sort of." He's like, "Yeah, do this," and I handed him the knife, and he said, "No, you can do it. I'll talk you through it, and this is how you do it." And I don't trim the same anymore, but he taught me one way.
Matt Flanagan talked about how you helped him trim his first.
Yeah, that was the same. Matt's sitting there with a big pork butt in front of him saying, "Okay, where's the money muscle and what is it and what do I do?" And I'm like, "Yep, here it is." And it was the same thing. And I said exactly the same to him. Someone showed me once upon a time, and I love people who they've got more knowledge with you, and like you touched on competing with other teams. That's how you learn.
It's the bestest. The best part about competing with other teams is you don't have to bring any of the gear. So that's great. You fly in, you do your thing, and you fly out and get lost.
I owe about 98% to Brendan. What I do, I just watched him a few times and went, "Is that how you do it?" I just copied what he did.
That's probably not true, because if you ask him, he'll say, "Oh no, it's not. It's more like 60-40."
Oh, 60-40, yeah, that's it.
He's no, look, I mean, you guys are too thick as thieves, and it's I don't know, that's just been an amazing journey, to be honest, and part of wanting to get you today is to just, one thing I learned just touching back on Caleb was I watched his funeral online and unfortunately couldn't be there in person, and not to get all emotional about it, but we watched that video of him surprising his youngest son to go to Kansas, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts from that guy Vlad online. He's like I don't know, he's some kind of foreigner that does interviews. Not unlike this one. One of the differences with him is he never appears in his own interviews. But between Caleb and Vlad, it dawned on me that once you're gone, that's it, man. All you're leaving behind is your memories, and I thought this would be a great way of capturing memories for myself. Got to be honest, I'm being greedy. It's for myself.
It's for yourself.
But I just like, why not hit record on some of the stuff we've done, relive some of these memories. And, you don't know, like I might get run over by a bus tomorrow, or you might, God forbid, here we go, touch wood. But you know what? We'll always have this record in the cloud, if you like, on the computer somewhere, and we'll always have it to relive our memories together. And I guess Caleb helped me awaken my sense of that. And so he won't be forgotten anytime soon. He's left a massive hole in our hearts, but also left a massive footprint on us. And I didn't want to really, I mean, it wasn't my plan to sort of dwell on Caleb, but that's been one of the big motivations for me, wanting to sit down and talk to people like yourself, because we've made so many great memories together and learned so much together that it would be a shame if for some reason we couldn't continue with that. And if we couldn't, at least we'll have this.
He definitely touched on a lot of people. That's why I said I shouldn't have probably brought it up either, because it's, my eyes start to go as soon as I start talking about it as well. It's one of them things. But it does make you wonder. I'm 6 months off 50, and
right, you're an old bugger. Are you really?
Yeah, I've spoke to my dad a few times, and when you're dead, you're dead. That's it, and it's you're only as good as the legacy that you leave behind. I've got 5 kids and 3 grandkids, so I'm pretty lucky that
freaking grandkids.
I'm pretty lucky that I've sown a few seeds, but that's all you've got. I did a family tree thing about a year ago and found great grandparents who are buried less than 20 kilometres from where I live.
Crazy.
And never knew about them and things like that. And they're the first ones to come to Australia, and from my side of the family. And it's you're forgotten. So you're only as good as what you leave behind. And we all make mistakes. that's the biggest thing. But like I said, I'm too hit and run when I come over there. So we're going to plan a holiday, and I'll come over like with my wife and the kids. We'll tie a comp in, but we want to stay this time, and because she's a Kiwi anyway, and I've been there probably 20 or 30 times, but the last 15 trips that I've had to New Zealand have been hit and run with barbecue comps, and not enough to actually hang around and say, hey, okay, let's catch up. Even going to Brendan's comp, not last year, year before, we called in and had lunch with you at Hamilton just before Texas Pete's Open.
Yeah.
And that was it. We only had 2 hours for lunch, and then we had to keep driving. It's not enough time to actually just catch up. And and like you said, you just got to slow up a bit sometimes, because life goes by. Sure. This should be just a little hobby for everyone, but it can become your life as well.
Oh, look, I mean, it's definitely
it's not a bad thing, because it's supported me through a dark time, and that's why it's probably one of the biggest reasons I got into barbecue was for mental health reasons. It helped me, and it's sometimes stressed me out more.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how humbling it is. I was just thinking about how humbling it is to. Yeah,
I got in it to meet guys and have a good time and make my life a bit more stable and like I said, with the mental health side of it, and it has tested me a few times, but I've met some awesome guys and especially so many more guys that I'm friends with now, and
Oh yeah, it's just such a great community.
And that's the thing. So.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad we brought up that, because that's something that never gets covered in these type of interviews. Particularly, that's why I wanted to do long form, because you unearth some of these issues that, you know. I mean, you wouldn't find a podcast anywhere that talks about the great sense of assistance it is to your mental well-being to be involved with something like competitive barbecue. I mean, it can be, obviously it is what you make it. It could be detrimental to your mental health, but I know for some of the bros out there that are doing push-ups right now, that are acutely aware of the impact of depression and suicidal thoughts and all of these types of things. You know, we love those guys, and we know them from barbecues. I was on the chat today to one of the bros that I met through barbecuing, and he's going through a little bit of an anniversary for a death in the family. And, you know, being able to reach out to those people and tell them that we love them is a big part of the community. And it's I mean, for as much as it is about winning barbecue comps and trophies, you know, you got a lot of trophies here. It's also about camaraderie and brotherhood and, you know, sisterhood, and being able to experience things together. And I guess for those who are following along, ask me, well, why are you doing this? Well, that's why, because I want to be able to document this journey that I'm having. And I couldn't think of a better way to do it. And I'm already, like I said to you in other episodes, I'm already having these conversations with you on the phone.
Yeah,
so
that's
just hit record.
We talked for hours already anyway.
Yeah,
so
why not just hit record and capture the moment? You know, I mean, I don't particularly mind if people watch it or not. I mean, I would like to thank the 25 subscribers that we've got now on the YouTube channel. I think that's great. But you know what? If there's one or none, it doesn't make any difference. I'm still going to do this, because for me, being able to go back and relive my memories of Trevor Dawson or Matt Flanagan or Brendan Rasmussen or Adam Roberts, it's been awesome, you know, really awesome.
Yeah, well, I've always said, you know, I do barbecue for me. Sadly, social media is a good thing, but it also is a bad thing that comes with doing competition barbecue. So it's, you know, it's been really good for me, but it's also bit me in the ass. But, you know, it has also made me stronger as well. You need to sort of learn to cope a bit more with what it is, and the support of the guys that are there. And, you know, I've got so many more friends. I've only just got to click onto Facebook and click onto your name, and I think we've got like 130 mutual friends. So that's 130 friends in barbecue out of however, you know, you really, in your lifetime, you might have a handful of close friends that you actually call close friends, that are good mates or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the rest are friends or acquaintances or whatnot. But, you know, the guys are in barbecue, they're always there. Like, you know, we don't talk all the time, but it's always, there's a quick phone call there. Hi, how you going? Oh, I can't talk to you. I'll ring you back later. Bring me back. Yeah, it's the 20-minute, half-hour phone calls all the time, or just to touch base. And, you know, it might be 99% barbecue talk, but it's something that we have in common. And it's something that, you know, that's, even if you're having a really shitty day, you just all of a sudden switch off, because you're talking about something you have a common interest in. And, you know, that just, it moves on from there. And a 20-minute phone call can leave you smiling at the end of it. And, you know, that can last all day then. You know, I've had my wife come home before and say, oh, what, you've got a grin on your face. What are you grinning about? I say, oh, I just talked to Jared, or I just talked to Brendan. And so, okay, what did he say? And then, you know, you're repeating the story again, and you're laughing, and you know, he said this and he said that. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then she's the same. She's like, oh, I can't wait till we get over there again and catch up. And, you know, it's that type of thing. And it gets her happy then, because she sees that I'm happy. And, you know, it's barbecue has given me a lot, not just, you know, not just trophies and whatever. And that's just a bonus.
Not just fame and fortune, Tree.
Nah, doesn't give me fame or fortune. I you know, the biggest thing I've taken out of barbecue is meeting people. I think that's my biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. It's, I think, like, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about this, because we just take it for granted. I've heard it seen so many times. There's so many GCs and good barbecue, but I think what competitive barbecue does is it attracts a certain mindset, And I think, you know, you're ultra competitive or not, you're looking to test yourself against other good cooks, and, you know, you have a passion for barbecue. So, you know, competitive barbecue attracts that personality. And naturally, if I find someone like you that's, you know, interested in barbecue, loves to test himself against good cooks, I mean, we've got so much in common already, you know, just by personality traits. I never really clicked on that until now, but that is what it is. It's, and I'm sure there's other endeavors, like I'm sure the professional running team or the All Blacks have the same camaraderie because they're interested in health and fitness, playing rugby, and they're a competitive mindset. So they must make some lifelong friends there, you know, because it's the same kind of people that attract to each other. So that's got to be it for sure. So trailers. So you've got a trailer. You bought a trailer last year, start of last year, I believe.
Yep.
And up until that point, you actually had your little barbecue trailer. It was a little open deck little thing, eh? It was only a 2x2 meter trailer or something.
Yeah, it was 24 by 24, and I had the stainless steel bench and sinks in there, and had the Octopit mounted, and also had the acorn on there as well, and that worked good. But then I thought, you know, I was still filling the car up.
I've got to be honest, I really like that setup. It really, like, I'm building my own barbecue trailer right now. Like, it's, you know, taken a little while, been kind of busy, but I've designed my whole design basically off that same concept. I really like that trailer. So where is that trailer now?
I can't remember the team name, but there's some guys in Melbourne that have got it. They've made it their own and changed it around and put their own pit on it. And because I obviously took the Octo pit off and put that back on wheels and put it in my new trailer. I was taking a lot, and I just wanted an enclosed trailer. You know, just looking at it, I didn't go too big. I didn't want something that was dual axle that I couldn't move myself, and I wanted something that was just big enough to put the pit in, have the fridge in there, have, you know, everything, have my trays and rubs and sauces and everything all set out in there, and somewhere where I can jump inside if it starts to rain. And, you know, it's been really good.
I crack up about his trailer because, for those of you who are listening or don't know Trev must be about like 120 centimeters tall. He's a very handsome and powerful man, but he's also a very short man. And I hit my head on fricking that trailer roof every fricking time I go in it. It's like hopping on one of those. You know, when you see those little dog boxes driving around with the race dogs in the back, and it's like a little caravan for racing dogs. Your
175 centimeters. Come on.
Your trailer's like that. Every time I go and I smash my head on the roof.
My head just skims on the light. I'm 175 centimeters.
That's a midget in my world, bro. That's a midget.
It was perfect. It's perfect for me.
So it is you picked it up.
I cooked with jandals on, so it's good.
You picked it up secondhand, and it is a very small trailer. It's probably only 2 by 1.5, maybe 2 meters by 1.5. It's not massive.
It's not that small,
isn't it? But anyway, it seems so small. Maybe it's not.
3 by 3.6.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's so much bigger than I would have thought. I just thought it was like a Bunnings trailer size.
It looks bigger when I'm in it.
Yeah, I suppose it does. But you've got quite a little basic thing that's in there, and you carry the Octopit round, and you've got all your rubs racked in on the sides. Does it have a wash sink in there in it?
No. I don't wash anything. I just use disposable and get rid of it. And
oh, you polluter.
All I have to do is I don't even take the pit out anymore. I just drop the tailgate down and wheel it down on the tailgate and cook on the tailgate, and then I'll wheel it back in and strap it down again. So just so it makes it easier.
How does that work out for you? I mean, has it worked out, or does it work?
It works good because I've got a drop down table on the side, a little stainless steel table on the side that drops down from the trailer, and because everything's trimmed up before I go to a comp, I rub everything there, and that goes straight in, and I box up and slice on there as well. So it's got an awning that pulls out off the side, so I really don't need to set a gazebo up if I don't want to. And I set a little table up inside that I can just have my heat-proof gloves and things like that, and I can work from in or outside of the trailer. So if it does start to, come down, I can put a gazebo over the top of it, and I can still work from in the trailer and keep going. But it doesn't rain that much over here, so it's not too bad.
I mean, you guys are lucky in that regard. The weather's usually pretty good.
But I found now I had to change a few things, but I found with that little drop down table on the side, I've got everything at my fingertips. So I have everything set up where I have all my rubs and sauces. It's got a couple little shelves in there, and trays, paper towel, a light.
I mean, you're so organised at a comp, so you probably don't carry a lot of gear that you don't use. So, I mean, it doesn't need to be a huge
that's the
trailer.
other thing.
You're not sleeping in the thing.
No, you can sleep in it, and I've got 2 little stretchers that go in there, but I just really haven't had a need to yet. So, but it just makes everything so much easier to take. I know what I've used at a comp, so as soon as I come back on the Monday, I just go and shop and restock it again, so it's ready for the next comp. Make sure everything's in there. So I've really just got to throw my meat in after I've trimmed everything up and hooked the trailer up and go. It's, as long as you clean everything and pack it all away where it lives, it's I've restocked the wood and everything else is clean in there, and that's really makes it a lot easier. Just throw some meat and drinks in there and away you go.
And I think with your trailer, I mean, we're obviously talking about the Australian economy, but your trailer seems to be a really, what I would call a really entry-level trailer. It's not over the top. It's not overly huge. It's like adequate, but it's it's like no frills. It's totally cool.
Yeah,
I mean, how much did you pick it up for? I mean, how much have you spent on it?
I picked it up really cheap, that's for sure.
Well, let's say this: if I was to buy it off you, the setup,
I'd say
what kind of money would you be talking about? Yeah, so it's not
$3,000.
It's not massively been expensive.
No.
I mean, we talked to Matt Flanagan, and he's up around the 20,000, and I'm not even going to even consider what I pay. But my build budget's kind of gone way over the top. But to the point where now it's costing, like, I can't finish it because it costs so much, but I can't not finish it. It's like, frankly, got COVID-19, I got no bloody money. But I'll get mine finished hopefully in time for Napier, even though I did say that last year. But we'll get it finished.
Yeah, I'm tossing up now whether to go bigger. I want something that I can sleep in, but I want something that's going to be multi-purpose.
I don't know.
So,
I mean,
because I take the kids away with
Yeah.
me, and my wife comes to every comp as well. I want to make sure that it's something more along the lines of what they have in the States, where you've got your accommodation side plus your prep side and your cooking side. But we can have something like that made over here that's 20 to 30 foot long for 25,000. So,
well, I mean, the problem is, and this is the trailer dichotomy, and we could talk all night about trailers, but the thing is one, how often are you going to use it for other things than competing? Like, you're going to compete in it 99 times, and you're going to take it camping once. So I do question the validity of saying, I want a multi-purpose trailer. I mean, I think, like
because
Matt
it's easy to sell to the wife.
Yeah, it's easy to sell the idea, but
it's easy to sell the idea. It's a caravan / barbecue trailer.
Yeah,
if you talk to her, she said it's a barbecue trailer.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing I wonder about, and I've thought long and hard about this, is I do like the American trailers where they're flipping massive, but at the end of the day, in New Zealand, we don't have the infrastructure to move a big trailer like that. Like you drive through Macca's with that on, you freaking take the whole place out. And then the other thing is we don't have the vehicles that can pull it. We've got, like, at best, a Land Cruiser. And I don't want to have to buy a new vehicle just to pull my barbecue trailer. They've got F-350s that can pull 12.5 tons, So, like my mate's trailer over there. I mean, you look at Tuffy's trailer. He's got an F-350 pulling it, and the thing's only, it's only quite a small trailer. It probably weighs 5 tons. It's such a heavy load. So number two, we don't have the vehicles, and number three. So by necessity, if you're going to sleep in it, you have such a big trailer to accommodate the sleeping quarters. And then number three, you've got to pull that thing from wherever, from Newcastle down to Sydney, or from Sydney to Melbourne, or whatever. You end up spending $300 in gas money to pull accommodation when you could just stay at a hotel for freaking $200. So it's like,
you're talking me out of it. Hang on,
I
sound like my wife.
Look, and we could talk about trailers, but my trailer, and obviously I don't have a trailer working right now, so I'm one to be talking about it. But my trailer, I just wanted one thing. I just wanted a really, really good comp setup. I didn't want it to do anything else but compete.
I think it comes down to it. I've had a few people say, "Why do you want that?" And it's because I can. if you you know.
Why do you want a bigger trailer, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And that's what it is. I look at it and go, I wish it was a little bit bigger. And, you know, even though it's only me now, most of the time, it's like, I wish it was a little bit bigger.
What's funny is Smokeface had that massive trailer.
Like, well, how far do you go? I don't know. You know, I'll probably stick with what I've got and won't do barbecue next year. Who knows? You know, I might take up golf again. I've got no idea.
Yeah, well, like I talked to Jai about Smokeface's trailer, they've got the biggest trailer on the circuit, I believe. If you take out, like, I know Mick Tyrrell and them gonna freaking one up them, like, at some point.
And meet a Winnebago, he's mixing.
yeah. Well, but my point is, you know, the guys who have a big trailer wish it was a little bit smaller, and the guys who have little trailers wish it was a bit bigger. So I mean, there's no perfect setup.
No, I don't.
The only answer I can see is to have. Yeah, the only answer I can see is to have 3 trailers, one of each, and that way you've always got the right solution.
Well, I looked at a camper van and towed the trailer I've got, so then you've got the best of both worlds too. But then, you know, how often will you use the camper van? How often will you do this?
I like Dan Barrett's setup. Maybe we'll talk to him about his setup. We are I don't know, we're getting distracted. We're not really getting distracted because that's what this podcast is all about. But Dan Barrett what he done is he's got his ute, so he puts all his comp stuff on the back of his ute, GMGs and everything. And then what he does is he tows his caravan. So his caravan's his kitchen / sleeping quarters. So he actually has a better night's sleep, and you know, he's got the PlayStation in there and a TV, and so he actually has a really good accommodation on site. And he's not really taking any, you know, like he's still got to load and unload, which to me is getting old. But he's got kind of the best of both worlds, I guess, to some extent. But then he has to load and unload. So what do you do?
Well, that's where I sort of look at it as well. Like I said, all I do now is fold down the side, and there's my table, and drop the back and wheel the pit out, and there's the pit. It's, you know, it takes me literally 5 minutes to set up and pack down. It doesn't take long at all.
Yeah.
You know, I push the pit back in and strap it down at 4 points, and, you know, fold the table up on the side and clip that back in and hook the trailer. Away you go. It's you know, it's really easy. And once I get back, I restock everything, and all I got to do is throw meat and drinks in, and hook up, and away you go again. So it's, you know, it's not too, it's pretty easy. So
probably works one of those pretty well.
Where it does, and it's, you know, once you've got your things in, you know, all your things in place, and you know, it's like when you go camping the first time, you always forget something. So you want to go camping somewhere where there's a Kmart or something where you can go and, you know, or a camping store where you can go and buy everything that you've forgotten the first time you went camping. When you've got a trailer and you've got everything in there and everything that's in its place, you don't forget anything. And, you know, like I used to take a dozen tubs, and the tubs have got, you know, foil trays and this, and then you get back and you've got to go through all the tubs again and work out who's got what. And then, like Al would be with me, and Al took 4 tubs, and so then we had
that's a pain.
Double, and I'd like he'd take them because I'd forget something, but he had it, and you know, then all of us, like, it's like, how much gear do you want to take? And you know, I'd take 4 tables, and so how many tables do you want? Like, you know, I work on a little table off the side now. You don't need any more than that. So it's just about cutting everything down and.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're right. The more competent you become at it, the less gear you tend to need, and you only need specifically what you need. I mean, we used to take a lot of lighting, and we'd hang a lot of lighting in our site, and we were always well known for having a lot of lighting. I personally hate, like, being in a dark area where I can't see, and probably because I should be wearing glasses. But now we don't even we take one light because we're cooking hot and fast, so we rely on the sun coming up.
Yeah,
we don't start at midnight because we don't need any lights. So now we don't need any cables. So now we don't need any cable ties. We don't need any, and so on and so forth. So we just take 2 little lights now, and they're battery powered. So we just hang them up. It
comes with doing a lot of comps. That's the thing. You know, it makes you a better cook, but it also streamlines everything you have to take. You know, the first comp you do, you got 4 people in your team, and everyone takes a full trailer load.
Yeah,
and you're like, what are we going to do with all this gear? We've got like 20 barbecues, and you know, what are we going to do? And you know, I think with SCA and ABA, I did 50 comps in 3 years. So you know, if you don't get it right after that, you're definitely taking too much gear. You want to streamline it. You want to make it as easy as you can, which is why I bought the trailer. It was just going to make it that much easier, just to have everything in one place, and I know where everything lives, and it just makes it a lot easier to do comps especially.
Yeah, so just on that topic, you're obviously known for low and slow, and that's like what this whole conversation's been revolving around. But I actually think you're really ECA. To me, you're like, you may not consider yourself like the king of ECA, but to me, I've watched you do ECA, and you're just so enthusiastic about it. You're so creative with it. What are your current thoughts on ECA? Because I mean, to me, I don't know anyone else who puts more effort into ECA than you.
Oh, I think there's a few guys out there. I think you've got to really get into it. I know, like when Brendan competes, he likes to get his family involved, and so they take a category each. It brings that factor into it. You can have your fun on the Saturday, and then your low and slow cook or hot and fast, whatever it is, on the Sunday. It gets more people involved. It lets you get more creative. I know, like Dan from Country Boys, he's someone that has really got into it or started to get into it this year, and then you start to chase points. Forest Lump, you look, those guys are really creative. Some of the things that they put out, I think it gets the girls again, gets the girls a lot more involved, and they bring their little creative side into it. But it's something that I like to do. That's away from just normal barbecue, because it seems to be, becomes a bit like Groundhog Day when you just cook the same thing over and over again. That's why I started to change cuts a lot for what I do. So it sort of tested me, and I tried different things. Where I changed my chicken box and went with 4 different cuts of chicken with 4 different rubs and 4 different sauces. Like, it's the hardest thing that I do, but it's one of the most exciting things I do, because it keeps me on my toes. Everything else is like a rack of ribs. It's pretty easy to cook a rack of ribs. It's easy to cook a brisket. It's not easy, but
I guess ultimately
it becomes a bit boring. It's like you put it on, you rub it, you put it on, and then you wrap it, and then you take it off, and then you cut it and put it in the box. That's exciting. And you've been
I agree. It does get a bit competitive, but I think ultimately we're not competing enough and haven't done enough comps in New Zealand to really determine. I mean, for me, the motivation is always just to outdo myself, and I guess if there was any other motivation beyond that, it was just to do well in the national championship, and we come third last year, which was no one was more surprised than me. We were a brand new team, had never cooked with Shane that much, and just managed to pull it out at the last minute and bump a few people down below us, which was a pleasant surprise. But I think ECA, I've never really understood the points in it. Like, how?
Yeah, I think
last year had like 30 something points, and like, what do you get, like points every time you compete?
I think there's a few things like I love about it, which is you can get creative. I've doubled up on a lot of things that I do now because I've done a few comps, but I like to get an idea in my head and cook it for the first time at a competition. So I don't know whether it's going to come out. A lot of the time I only cook 6. So people say, what did it taste like? I'm like, I don't know, because I only cook 6 and put them in the box. It's just one of those things. It's just a different test that I like to put myself through with cooking something that, especially when you get some sort of an idea, it's this wrapped in that, wrapped in this, wrapped in that, put inside this. And it's like, wow, I don't even know if that'll work, but let's try it. And then, you hand it in and you win, or you hand it in, you come last, and you're like, oh, I won't be doing that again. That was a bit adventurous. Or, you do this wrapped in that, wrapped in this, and coated in that, and you think it sounds good, and then you taste it and you go, oh wow, that's like you spit it out. Or, I just find it's just something different. It just gives you that different, rather than, like I've had where we could do a blind tasting, and take like Brendan, for instance, have 4 other teams put their barbecue on the table. I can taste Brendan's barbecue. I can pick his 100% over everyone else's, because we use the same things, and I know what it is, and you just haven't got that. You just haven't got that variation there, and that's why I like with the SCA. It just gives you that. The things I don't like about it is that you can buy a lot of the ingredients. You can.
The thing
you
that
can more or less prep
appeals
90% of it, and put it in the box when you get there, or
Yeah, the thing that
You know,
offends me is these stories you hear people, oh, I got that from the cake shop and I put it in a box
yeah,
and
and
come six with
and
it. You know, it's like seems like a
it,
total
it
waste of time.
rewards people who do more comps as well. So you know, like
Yeah, I don't like that either.
the guys in the States who win the stake and things like that, they do 80 competitions in a year or something.
Yeah,
So you
that's
know,
no.
if you haven't got $50,000 to travel all around the place and do all these stake competitions, you've got no chance in winning. You know, where
So you do
you look at the ABA, it
get a
takes your
minimum
best
amount of
three
points for
score.
competing.
So you get 1 point for competing anyway, and then
Right.
you know if you finish in ancillaries, first, second, or third, you get points. So you get 3, 2, and 1 on a downward scale, and then your points in stake start from first down to 10th. And for first you get 11, and then second is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Down that way. So you do get rewarded for doing better, but you know you also get rewarded 1 point for doing a state competition. So you know if you did 4 or 5 state competitions, that's all you could get to in a year, and you scored 45 points or something like that, and I did 50 competitions in a year and I didn't score in the top 10 at all, I still beat you. But because I can afford to go to 50 competitions, I
can't handle that.
So
I can't handle that.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't like about it, is that you get rewarded points for doing more comps. But it gives you more of a chance because you start to cook well. You get to you cook.
Yeah, but if you can't pull out a half decent result after doing 10 of those comps, then maybe you need to. I mean, maybe
I think that's where the ABA's got it dialed down right, where they take your top 3, or the scoring the last few years has been different as well, where they've gone to the point system, and then 100 for first, and then your percentages on depending on how many teams are in the competition. I think that works really well. I think it works. Dropping Judge 6's work for me, where I always I also think I cook a lot better, but I do think that the judging the way it is at the moment, with dropping Judge 6, has helped me as well, and helped a lot of other teams. But everyone's under the same rules. It's only my opinion on what I think.
I like the current judging. Sometimes. The only critique I've got of the current judging is that when you've got a team like Butcher's X that got 5 grand championships, you've got Lucas who's got like 4 grand. I mean, it just becomes it just seems a little anticlimactic, meaning.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems like
you've still got to cook. Yeah. You've still got to cook. That's the thing, I've been the biggest whinger about judges for a long time in a lot of different comps,
if you disagree with Trev, that there's
no one's going to disagree.
A person who whinges more, put it down in the comments, guys. I'd like to see that.
But you've been at a comp and you think, wow, especially when you first start out, you think, wow, I nailed that, and then you taste someone else's barbecue and it's like, hang on, I didn't nail it. I thought it was good, but and like Jai said, we all think we're the best barbecue cooks. We're in our own backyard, but when you put it up against judging and other teams and the best teams that are in Australia or New Zealand or whatnot, it really, it shows them. And I never ever go into any comp thinking, I'm going to win ever. I've never ever done that. You'll have your ass handed to you quicker than what you can, hand in your first box if you go in thinking that.
Yeah.
But you do know when you've cooked something well, and you do know when you've nailed something, which I go back to, like I said, to my brisket at Auckland. As soon as I tasted it, I went,
nailed it. Yeah.
This is good. I nailed it. And I got you to come and taste it.
Yeah.
First place. You know, but you don't think first place. You think, wow, it's okay. People aren't going to nail it. That's going to be so many teams. They're going to cook a good brisket. These guys are going to nail it. Well, I'm looking at a top 10 brisket here. That's what I look at. I just look at
I'm the same.
Okay, I'm looking at a top 10 brisket.
Top
I'm
10.
a chance.
Yeah.
And that's what I look at. You're looking at a 50-team comp, and I'm thinking, this is a good brisket. Wow, okay, I'm top 10, top 15 in this brisket. Good, that's what I'm looking for. Lamb handed in. Wow, this is
top 10,
top 10, top 15 lamb. This is good. I'm on a roll. I'm not thinking, I'm winning lamb or I'm going to do this.
You focus on the aggregate.
I'm consistent here. This is really good. If judges don't like this, there's something wrong with them. But then, there are comps where you just think, wow, okay, I thought that was great. Get your ass handed to you and you move on. But it comes with doing so many comps and doing a lot of comps where you just got to move on from it quicker to get to the next comp and not dwell on it. I used to do it all the time, and no wonder the ABA get over copping so many messages and emails and things like that, because I've been there. It's like, I've messaged Adam Roberts before and gone, hey, can you believe this? He's like, well, these guys have been consistent and they won. You go, okay, well, you can't be wrong. And, and then when you go back and you taste it again, you're like, yeah, no, it wasn't that good. It probably wasn't.
Yeah, I think if you're honest with yourself, I mean,
I'm probably my hardest critic too. That's the biggest thing. I've got worst cook ever. That's my thing is, I very rarely think that I've nailed something. I'm always striving to get something better. I think that's why I do like cooking next to guys who I know do well all the time, because you get to taste what they're cooking.
Yeah.
And you can really gauge where you are
relative
and then
to
when they get call-ups or if you don't get call-ups or whatever, you can work off each other that way.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the key things for teams out there. We're always strategic about who we're next to, and that's the reason is that being next to good cooks, it makes you cook better, not because you're getting the inside scoop, because you actually they elevate you just because of the way that they cook and timings, tastings, and
that's what I said, about Brendan. We're two different teams, and we work side by side, but it's like we're the same team, and that's the thing. It's like I can think what he's thinking. I know, and I'll tell him, and I know that he will tell me if my barbecue isn't any good. There's not. That's the worst thing that I hate is someone says, "Can you taste this? Tell me what you think." I'm too honest. I'll tell you what I think, so don't ask me to tell you what I think if you don't want an honest answer. I'll tell you whether it's good, or I'll tell you whether it's not good, because
I've got to be honest.
I don't want to waste your time.
But I don't like crushing the new guys' enthusiasm.
No, I don't either. But I'd rather say it's not that it's crap. I'd rather not say it's crap. I'd rather say I don't like it, and this is the reasons why I don't like it. Mate, I've said it plenty of times before, and guys have got first place, but it's things that
I'm the same. I've been beaten by
I remember the Cumu comp with the big storm and everything like that. I think Matt Melville come up and he said to me, do you like
chicken?
Do you like my ribs? And I went, or his chicken? I'm like, nah, it tastes like some sort of Chinese ribs or Chinese chicken. And he got first place. He walked out, he goes, "You're liking me chicken now, aren't you?" Or like, I can't remember what it was now.
I love that he got the last laugh.
But he gave it to me though, and he's like, "You're liking it now, aren't you?" I'm like, well, "Okay, I'll give it to you." Like it's you just gotta take it. That's funny that. I'm one to talk anyway. I've had call ups and everything, but I've never had a first place chicken. So one of those things that
even with the four chicken category, even with your four chickens in a box.
But yeah, I've had plenty of second places with the new box. I've had a couple of seconds, but yeah, it's one of those things that's eluded me. It's probably cost me. Well, I reckon it's cost me probably 3 or 4 GCs chicken. So I remember we lost to Manning Valley. It broke a couple of years ago, and by 3 or 4 points, and we come last in chicken. We only had to come second last in chicken, and we GC, and it's like it's been one of those killers, and it's not just me. I think it's been a lot of teams. It's one of those nemesis that's
Yeah, I've got to be honest. We didn't really start to get good. We didn't get grand champion or reserve until we really nailed chicken. So I think the advice that I'd give out guys out there who are struggling away is you can't have a weak category anymore. You can't be like, if we can just get 10th in chicken, you've got to be seriously.
I had top 10 chicken. I'm nearly jumping out of my chair. It's like I've won chicken. Yeah. I'm top 10. I'm like jumping up, doing fist pumps, saying yes, that's it. And then people look at you going, yeah, mate, top 10. I'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that we had a lot of trouble with chicken over the years, and you just got to take matters into your own hands and just really focus on turning a weakness into a strength. I mean, I've been cooking a lot of barbecue chicken lately, and I'm really digging a few profiles that I've been playing with, and my family are pretty critical because they know that's what I don't want to hear that it's good. I want to know why it's good or why it's not good. So
yeah,
my wife ate some barbecue chicken last night, and she's like, "Oh, the skin's rubbery," and I'm like, "Yeah, good one. Thanks, Judge 6."
Yeah. Well, that's it. I don't practice, so I've got to sort of I do a lot of comps, so it's okay. But when I get to it, it's like, okay, let's see what the judges think of this one, and that one bomb, that's no good. Let's wait till the next comp. And
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous you guys can
that.
compete like every other weekend almost. You know, we're still struggling away, and if anything, we've tried to consolidate comps, cut a few, cut a few back because it just becomes unsustainable for such a small barbecue economy. But anyway, look, I'm going to wrap it up here. I've just seen the time. If anyone's made it this far through our interview, congratulations. You get a gold star. Thanks for listening. Trev, look, I've got to tell, just in conclusion, Trev, look, I have huge respect for you.
Thanks, mate.
Know all about, I've watched you right from the day we sponsored you with Octopit. I've watched you come freaking dead last and embarrass my brand, and I've watched you just claw your way through
Been doing it proud lately. Come on.
Yeah, and I've watched you just continue to just evolve and improve and challenge yourself and test yourself and show massive heart. I think I don't think anyone there's no one with more heart than what you've displayed as a barbecue competitor. I think it's just been incredible to watch, and we all put our foot in our mouths at time, and we all cook bad cooks, and I just have been watching you, and you've been a huge inspiration to me as I've battled through and tried to improve my barbecue game. I think that, hey, if Trev can do it, I can do it. So my hat off to you, Trev. If I didn't have my headphones on, my hat off to you.
Thanks, mate.
I just massive heart. You've been an inspiration to me personally, but also to the barbecue community at large. I think, it always interests me going to Australia because everyone knows you because you say what you think, and everyone sort of has some sort of opinion about you. But we've had a great partnership.
Love me or hate me.
Yeah, we've had a great partnership in terms of with Octopit, and continue to support you in any way that we can. And I just am happy and glad to call you my friend and someone who's helped me do better and someone who's inspired me. So it's been a real pleasure to sit down with you for however long we've been going, way longer than I thought. I checked my computer.
You haven't dropped a more better yet either.
Holy hell. I've dropped a couple of more betters. You missed them, mate.
Oh, I haven't heard it.
But look, hey, thanks a lot for the time. And look, for those who are following at home, let us know in the comments whether you enjoyed it or not. And appreciate it if you subscribe. And we'll look forward to another time when we can revisit maybe down the line, and we can, continue to follow your journey.
Thanks for all your support, mate. You know that. I appreciate everything you do for me when I'm coming over. See you later.
Anytime, man. Peace out, everybody at home.